What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Pytash here, and today I'm bringing you the best tips and tricks for Modern Warfare's Warzone. So if you guys are struggling playing Warzone, trying to get a W, hopefully these tips will help you in doing so. We're going to run through 5 different things here today, starting off with the Minimap, Contextual Tab, perks, equipment, and contracts. Those are the 5 things we're going to be looking at here today. You guys may already know some of these things, you may not know some of these things, but I'm here to help you discover each and every one of them. So first off, the minimap. What can I do with the minimap? There's actually, if you hit the options or start button, whatever you want to call it, and go to your settings, if you're on general, you go 3/4 of the way down the page. That's one tab over from the starting spot. You'll see a thing called HUD. Originally, the minimap shape is set to circle or round by default. And you can see it cuts off some of the corners, where if you put it over to square, this is a new update with the Warzone. And if you switch to the minimap shape to square, you can actually see 15% more on the minimap than you could without the square. And then also, minimap rotation is set to enabled by default. I highly recommend you leave it enabled just to help you out. When you're looking around corners, you can tell which way you're looking at a little bit easier to tell your teammates. Next up, we have another setting you can switch. You might be like, why is everyone being able to grab weapons and items off the floor so quickly? Well, if you go to controller, if you're playing on a controller, I know for sure where the settings at. You go down on the first tab of options down to weapons. It's going to be under use/reload behavior. It's a default setting is set to tap to reload, and you have to hold to use. So hold to use means that you have to hold the button to open doors, pick up weapons, pick up armor, items, whatever it might be. Whereas contextual tab, you tap to reload or tap to use. But when there's, let's say, an item on the floor, but you have to reload, you have to hold the square or whatever your reload button is to be able to reload and not pick up the item. This can get a little tricky sometimes, so if you're in a vehicle, for instance, you're driving down the road, or even in a helicopter, and you have to reload and you tap square or your use button, you will jump out of that helicopter or vehicle. Instead of reloading, you have to hold to reload in that situation. Contextual tab does, however, if you're running over items real quick, you want to pick up a gun quicker than the enemy. Like if you first spawn in, you're dropping down into the game, you find a gun real quick, all you have to do is tap your use button, square on PlayStation, X on Xbox, and you got the gun already. Whereas the other person had to hold their use button. So contextual tab can speed things up, help you out. If you've been wondering how people are doing it, contextual tab is the way that they're picking up the weapons so fast. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you don't have contextual tab on, you have to hold the button. Sometimes the hold doesn't really register and it doesn't pick up the weapon. You have to restart that hold, so it takes a little bit of time. Moving on to number 3. Now you might not think the perks are that big of a deal, like, oh, we don't even get perks. But if you actually have a custom loadout drop and you get that custom loadout drop, you get the perks with your class. So it is highly important that you understand what the perks do and how to use them in proper situations. Starting things off with perk number 1, there's 2 that I recommend here on this, one of which, Cold-Blooded. It helps you from being detected on AI targeting systems such as the recon drone and thermal optics. Everyone and their mother is running thermal on their sniper. So if you want, put on Cold-Blooded. If you're using a thermal yourself and you're looking down the scope and you see somebody but they're not highlighted in white, they're running Cold-Blooded. So it's harder for people with thermal scopes to see you. But if you don't really care about that and you're trying to get up into the action and you don't want to be killed from C4s or any other explosives that are non-kill streak based, drop EOD on the class itself. One last thing I would recommend for perk number 1 would actually be that of kill chain. In Warzone only, it does increase your chance of finding kill streaks in supply boxes, so as you're looting around, you have a better chance of finding that UAV or precision airstrike, which can save you a ton of money in the long run. If you want, you can throw kill chain on and try to get those kill streaks a little bit quicker without having to find as much money. Perk number 2, there's a couple here that we can go over, but the top 2 are Overkill, which allows you to have 2 primary weapons. So that's how you see people running an AR and sniper, or SMG and sniper. The second one I highly recommend would be Ghost. So you would be undetectable by UAVs and heartbeat sensors. You'd be undetectable by UAVs, but you would not undetectable by the advanced UAV, which you can be called in by a team calling in 3 UAVs at the same time. you don't appear as a red triangle and they can't see your every movement. You'll just appear as a normal UAV on their map. So it does still help out a lot having Ghost on your class, but you won't be able to run Overkill. One thing you could do that is very smart is get your first loadout drop with a class that has Overkill. And then you run into another loadout drop or buy another loadout drop. You then use that to be able to switch to a class that has Ghost on it. So you're like, whoa, so I'll lose my second gun? But when you switch classes, you actually drop that gun on the ground. You could have Ghost and pick up your secondary weapon, your second primary that you had from the first Overkill class. You can have the best of both worlds there. Lastly, I would recommend using Restock. Say you have equipment, you have a grenade or a bouncing Betty on your class for your lethal equipment. If you use it, your equipment will charge over 50 seconds. So that means you don't have to find another one to loot off the ground. It'll charge over time, so you get another one automatically every 50 seconds. You can just be chucking a nade every minute if you want, or placing Betties every minute. But I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong on this, I haven't tested it, but you might only be able to place 2 bouncing Betties or 2 claymores at a time without one despawning. Just be wary of that. You can't just place 50 in a room. Moving on to perk number 3, we have Tuneup, Amp, Shrapnel, Battle Hardened, Spotter, and Tracker. There's 3 that I would recommend, 2 more so than the other. First of all, I like using Amped just because it allows you to swap your weapon a little bit faster, and if you're running an RPG, which I've seen a ton of people doing recently, it allows you to reload your rocket launcher a little bit faster. The other one I highly recommend is that of Tracker. You can see enemy footprints. Now, you can't see them if they were there 5 minutes ago, but you can see them, like, I'm pretty sure it's within a minute or maybe 30 seconds of that person running around. Don't quote me on that time, not really sure. But you can see them if they've been there recently. It's probably 15 to 30 seconds of the time that they were there. So if you're running into a building, you start seeing red footprints on the floor, you know someone's been there recently and you'll be able to find them and track them down. Another one you might want to run is Spotter. You can see enemy equipment through walls. That's not really that big of a deal in Warzone since you have armor and you can survive, but it may still be something you want to do. I don't recommend it. It's not really worth it. You could run Shrapnel as well. You have 2 pieces of equipment to spawn with instead of 1. If you did want to pair up Shrapnel with Restock, that's another good idea. You could be throwing 3 nades within a minute if you wanted to run Restock and Shrapnel on the same class. Moving on to tip number 4, that is your lethal and tactical equipment. These are highly valuable within Warzone. Depending on your playstyle or how you want to play during this game, if you want to play a little bit slower and hide a little bit more, run the Claymore, Proximity Mine, or if you just want people following you. So if you're wary of someone coming up the stairs behind you, drop a Proximity Mine or Claymore at the top of those stairs. The enemy will think twice before coming after you. If you're a run and gun type of player, you want to get up in the action, trying to get people at longer ranges, Semtex, C4, Frag Grenade, those are the 3 that I would go with. C4, you can't throw it quite as far as the Semtex and Frag Grenade. Tactical equipment, Heartbeat Sensor is wonderful for clearing houses and making sure no one's in there, but a lot of people have started using Ghost, so you might not be able to actually use this properly, because if people are using Ghost, they will be undetectable by the heartbeat sensor, so you won't even be able to see them. You'll pull up the heartbeat sensor, no enemies there, you'll go in the building, get shot. So just be wary of that. A lot of people are running Ghost now, and you might not be able to see the enemy on your heartbeat sensor. So if you don't want to run the heartbeat, what should I run? I would either run Smoke Grenade or the Stun. If you stun an enemy, their movement will be very restricted, very limited in how fast they can move, and you'll be able to get the jump on them quite easily. Or this one is probably the most recommended one, because if you're stuck in a sticky situation or your teammate goes down, you can drop a smoke grenade down on the ground, revive your teammate, and get out of there without the enemy even knowing, especially if you have cold-blooded on, because the thermals will not be able to detect you either. So those are my tips for the equipment. Moving on to the very last one, and that is contracts. There are 3 different types of contracts within the game. You have Recon, Scavenger, and Bounties. Bounties can kind of give you like a UAV on a team location. It lets you see the approximate location of one enemy, but if you're playing in trios, you'll be able to, most likely their other 2 teammates will be close by, so it gives you the location of a team. As well, if someone placed a bounty on your head, you can kind of tell where people are based on the threat level. If the threat level is really high, or all 3 bars, that means the enemy team is very close to you. If the threat level is low, they're pretty far away. You don't have to really worry about them. So I recommend picking up every single bounty contract you run by, even if you don't plan on completing it, because it gives you the location of a team. Now for scavenger, you have to collect 3 different supply boxes or supply crates, whatever you want to call them. After collecting all 3 of them, you get a gas mask. Gas masks are extremely helpful in this game because the gas moves pretty fast and it's quite deadly. On top of this, you get money and bonus cash every time you complete a contract within a game. So I highly recommend doing it because the more money you have, the more UAVs, more self-revive, armor plates, loadout drops you can buy. And you can also buy your teammates back if they happen to go down. And then lastly, we have that of the recon contracts. The recon contracts help out with many different things. One, money. So what is a recon contract? It's basically like a mini hardpoint within Warzone. So there will be a flag that appears on the map. You have to go up to it and hold that position for approximately 10 to 15 seconds, depending on how many people are on the flag. The more people you have on the flag, the faster it caps. But you have to understand, once you step foot on that little hard point, there will be a yellow flare that goes up. There will be a yellow flare in the sky that other teams can see, and they'll know that you're completing that contract, and they can come to your location to stop you. If you are successful in completing the recon contract, you only have to secure 1 point. You will be able to see, you'll get the cash, and you'll also be able to see where the next circle is going to be. You have a better chance of positioning yourself than the other teams. You could complete 4 to 5 recon contracts back to back and see all the circles. If you wanted to, you could see exactly where to position yourself to win the game, give yourself the best chance of winning. That's my top 5 tips and tricks here for you guys. If you guys want more tips, let me know down in the comments down below what you want to see. If you want to see best class setups for Warzone, or you might just want to see more gameplays, I'm here to help you in any way possible, especially during these crazy times. I've been trying to upload every single day of the week to try to help give you guys something to do, something to watch, and hopefully these gameplays and videos are helping you out within not only passing your time during this crazy time outside, but hopefully you're staying healthy, and hopefully these videos are helping you with your gameplays. But I wish all the best to you guys. Hopefully you are staying healthy and playing it smart. As always, guys, if you did enjoy, tell your friends, tell your family. You know where to find me. Pytash at all major social medias. That's Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Pytash. And I'll see you guys next time.